Coming up on DC News Now at 4, Metro looks for solutions to their looming budget crisis. What leaders are proposing.
Temperatures are going to tumble on this Halloween night, but we'll let you know how that feels like temperature could be come Wednesday morning.
Then, the Commanders already active at the NFL trade deadline. Who's on the move and who's sticking around? Plus, some tech talk. 2 Northern Virginia students raise a pretty penny for an AI startup. And we're helping you have a happy Halloween, from safety tips to all things spooky in the DMV.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good Tuesday afternoon and happy Halloween. This is DC News Now at 4. I'm Ben Dennis in for Mark Hall, and Elisa Gale will join us later tonight. We'll get to those top stories in just a moment, but we start with our forecast. A chill in the air today, a live look of Roslyn. Gray skies over Northern Virginia, and over to meteorologist Damon Matson for a first look at that forecast. Damon, a shock value along with this chill here.
Yes, exactly right. As we are trying to enjoy this Halloween, of course, some parts of the area gearing up for trick-or-treating here very soon. And fittingly enough, Mother Nature has dropped those temperatures and brought in a very crisp feel for the holiday. There we have it again, all afternoon long. We've been dealing with these same readings. We're talking upper 40s back toward the Shenandoah Valley and the Allegheny front, low to mid 50s. That is all the warmer it got in and around D.C., the I-95 corridor, pretty much the eastern half of the viewing area. And this temperature map really shows the change we've experienced over the last 24 hours. Most of us running 15 to nearly 30 degrees colder than this time yesterday, when we still had a lot of that warm air left over before that strong cold front pushed through last night. So as we go into this Halloween evening, yes, bundle up if you are going to head out to help the kids with the trick-or-treating. It's going to be in the 40s, relatively calm and quiet, but we are going to slowly see the wind start to pick up as we go later in the night, and those temperatures do continue to drop. So it is going to feel very cold out there later on tonight, and in some parts of the region, cold enough that we could be talking about snowfall. Yes, a winter weather advisory is in effect for Garrett County, some of the ridgetops back down into West Virginia as well for tonight into Wednesday morning due to that threat of mountain snow showers. Now, as we roll ahead, it's actually going to get colder going into the day tomorrow, and then in particular Wednesday night, to where we already have a freeze watch that covers the large majority here of the DMV due to temperatures likely to fall into the 20s. So we'll detail out the timing of some of that mountain snow, as well as when you can expect the coldest temperatures over the next few days. That's all coming up here in your full forecast in just a bit.
Plenty to cover, Damon. Thank you. Developing right now, D.C. leaders are working with Metro to find a fix for the transit system's major multi-million-dollar budget problem. Metro officials met with D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the City Council this morning to discuss that deficit. Our Randy Bass is at the Fort Totten station with more this afternoon. Randy, good afternoon. This is a $750 million problem.
Yeah, Ben, and it could grow to become a billion-dollar problem over the next 10 years. The short-term impacts are just as striking, though. The potential for major service cuts and layoffs that could be imminent if Metro doesn't find a fix for its funding problem. WMATA says ridership dipped significantly during the pandemic, leading to decreased fare and advertising revenue for the transit system. Those numbers are starting to rebound, but are expected to remain at or below 75% of those pre-pandemic ridership levels. Inflation, increased operating costs over the last several years also hurting Metro's bottom line, plus federal relief dollars running out. MATA leaders say if they have to make those major cuts, those cuts are most likely to hit DC Metro bus riders hardest.
If I got to sit right here and wait an hour for my next bus to come, I'm not going to be able to make it to work today.
Oh, I'll be staying home. I'll be in big trouble because I have to go to therapy every day.
Yeah, you heard about that from riders there and what the impacts look like for them. As for what the timeline looks like here, though, Metro will present its final budget in December for the fiscal year that starts next July. If they have to start laying off employees, they'll start notifying them in January. Metro says it takes about 6 months for layoffs to take effect. Metro GM Randy Clark says some of those service cuts could come around the same time. Many of those impacts starting during cherry blossom season, one of the busiest times of the year for both Metro Bus and Metro Rail. Be sure to stick around for DC News Now at 5 o'clock, where we'll have more on this developing story. Live in Fort Totten, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
Thanks to Randy this afternoon. Meanwhile, Mayor Bowser faces more questions about bus lane enforcement today as Metro stares down that massive budget deficit next year. This summer, the D.C. Department of Transportation and Metro started using cameras on 140 buses to automatically issue warnings to drivers and eventually fines of up to $200. Now, enforcement was scheduled to begin last month, but was delayed indefinitely, and DDOT declined to say how many warnings, if any, have been issued. Well, at a breakfast with council today, Bowser said she expects ticketed enforcement to start in January of next year, citing the need to educate the public about those laws. But she did receive pushback from Councilmember Brianne Nadeau.
We've been waiting for this for a while. It was expected in 2021. There are rules, so why are we only enforcing them for transit riders?
Brianne Nadeau there, the union representing WMATA employees, told us in a statement that the problem is widespread through all hours of the day and reported multiple crashes caused by illegally blocked bus lanes. And Prince George's County is launching a new initiative to enhance its bus service for residents. It's called Transit Transformation. The initiative will focus on safe, reliable, and user-friendly transit service for the county's buses in the next 5 years. It would include 70% of the fleet to be zero-emission buses by 2035. The move would provide better transit services, and it's expected to be completed summer of next year. And DC News Now is your local election headquarters. We're digging into the issues that matter the most into our communities. The race for Senate District 30 in Northern Virginia is one of the many tight contests with a lot at stake. Yesterday, our Northern Virginia reporter Haley Milon profiled Democratic candidate delegate Danica Roem. Well, today she reports that Republican candidate Bill Wolf hopes to bring a fresh perspective to the Capitol.
Continuing our coverage of the huge stakes in these elections as millions of dollars continue to pour into state-level races, Republicans are eyeing abortion restrictions as the prize if the party can take over control of the state Senate. The race for District 30 is one that could have long-lasting and large implications for Virginia.
We've got money to put back into the pockets of the taxpayers.
Former police officer and small business owner Bill Wolf focusing on the cost of living in the district, including parts of Prince William County, Manassas, and Manassas Park, pointing to the general fund's $5 billion surplus this year, suggesting measures like doing away with taxes on personal vehicles.
We need to make that a priority.
He said he'd tackle crime by supporting legislation backing law enforcement in Richmond.
We've got to show them that they're respected in our communities.
As data center construction could transform the district's rural tapestry, the Prince William native aligns with his opponent, Delegate Danica Roem, saying he'd fight rezoning that would put the mega-tech warehouses near homes, schools, and historic sites.
I think that we need to regulate zoning.
Taking control of the state Senate is crucial to Governor Glenn Youngkin's aim to restrict abortion at 15 weeks. Asked if he'd support an even stricter ban, Wolf said he'd represent the will of District 30.
And I'm going to vote and advocate for things that they agree with.
Roem reports more than $2 million raised compared to Wolf's $1.4 million. Contributions of less than $100 signal more community-level support for Roem, with 4,400 such contributions. Wolf has brought in less than 3% of that, but he's selling voters on being a non-politician.
I think this is what Richmond really needs. It needs fresh ideas.
We'll continue covering the races that you'll find on your ballots and the issues that matter to you through Election Day. From our Northern Virginia Bureau, I'm Haley Milon, DC News Now.
Our thanks to Haley. Now, the Washington Commanders made two big moves just before today's 4 p.m. trade deadline, sending away two of their top defensive players. Sports director Derek Forrest in studio with us of how it affects the team moving ahead. Hey, Derek.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Yeah, the Washington Commanders were very busy right before Tuesday's 4 p.m. trade deadline as they moved both of their defensive ends in Montez Sweat and Chase Young, sending Sweat to the Chicago Bears for a 2024 second-round pick and Young to the San Francisco 49ers for a 2024 compensational third-round pick. Now, the move says a lot about the direction the team, but more importantly, the front office of Josh Harris and company would like to go in. The defense this year has been near the bottom of the league, and with two guys the caliber of Sweat and Young still performing at a high level, if the front office wasn't going to keep these guys at the end of the year, considering how much they are paying Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen already, it was time to get something back for them.
Josh Harris and his group, they're very analytically driven. They know the value of draft capital and draft picks versus the sentimental attachment people might have to players that have been here for a long. They don't care about that. They want to build a championship roster, and if you're able to get a second-round pick for Montez Sweat, and if you're able to get similar compensation for Chase Young or insert Commander's name in the blank, they're going to do it.
Now, I mentioned how much the team was already paying defensive tackles Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Between the two of them, with 4 years on their contracts respectively, the team is paying the two of them alone $162 million over the next 4 seasons. So it's time for the Commanders to take the approach of rebuilding around their core.